p.m. I would like to call the meeting of the Facilities Usage and Planning Subcommittee meeting. All right, so we have Mr. DiAgostino and Mr. Sullivan and myself are serving on that subcommittee, but we have our other school committee members present as well. So the first item on the agenda is the polling location request. We received a request from Cynthia Scrivani, Executive Director in the Elections Department. And the letter indicates, "Dear Superintendent Thomas, 2 of my polling locations have opted out of letting me use space for the November election. I would like to request the use of the Russell School, and also I would like to put another precinct in the Gilmore School. Thank you in advance for your consideration to my request." So I don't know offhand what the 2 locations were that opted out, but I think it was the high-rises.
Yes.
2 of the high-rises. And it's more of a safety issue because of the elderly. So they requested to remove the polling location from those 2 high-rises. If anyone has any questions, as far as that, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. They just want to add another precinct to Gilmore and then add the Russell School.
So the only thing is we would, the Gilmore's all set because there's spots to add. And then Dr. Cobb's and Ken Thompson would have to work with the building department who comes in and sets up the polling, the polls. Would have to work with them on the setup. Obviously, they've never, since the Russell has been in my tenure in operations, and now the Russell has not been used, and then obviously it was closed for a few years. We'd obviously have them use the cafeteria, because you go right in through those doors, right into the caf, and there's no, obviously there's no school on election day, so we would just have to go over there with the building department and make sure that there's the proper electrical outlets needed. And if there's not, obviously, the building department works with us with their electricians to add what's needed, but that would be the only thing we'd have to do. So we would, Dr. Cobbs would plan to, with the election, the executive director, Cynthia, to go over there and take a look and make sure we could, the setup is easy.
So the Russell entrance to get into the cafeteria, I believe there's stairs.
Yep.
Correct? So is there handicapped accessibility?
They would have to then go around, there's a ramp.
Through the front?
They'd have to go through the front door and then walk down to the cafeteria where there's no stairs. You can just walk right into the caf. It's all one level. So they would have to use, and obviously there would be, the custodians would be there, and then there'd be poll workers there to help people get in, obviously, if they needed a handicapped entrance.
Okay. Mr. Sullivan, Mr. DiAgostino, any questions, or can we just go ahead and vote on this?
Just one question, George.
Sure. Is
Is
your
this-
microphone on? Yep.
Is this temporary or is it permanent?
It doesn't indicate in the letter. I would assume it's probably, if they're asking to put a new polling location, most likely, I would probably say they're going to make it permanent, because it does get confusing when you're constantly moving polling locations.
For this one is just for, right at this point in time, it's just for the November election. So they would have to come back to you if they wanted it for the next election.
Permanent? Okay.
But don't they usually
They send
submit
the
a list
request
every year anyway?
Yep.
So, yeah, they would send us, yeah.
So right now, I didn't notice that. That does just say for November, and we're assuming it's just November of this year. So,
Make a motion if you'd like, that we accept as written the letter from the Elections Commission to use
Second.
the B.B.
Oh,
Russell
sorry.
School and
Done.
the Gilmore for the elections.
Second. Sorry, Mr. Sullivan, you paused and I thought you were done.
okay. We're good with that. We can go to the next agenda item. We have air quality and air exchange report. And is that going to be Dr. Cobbs that's
Yeah,
presenting that?
so just so everybody, before Dr. Cobbs goes, just what, before he begins, just Dr. Cobbs, Ken Thompson, Jamie Domestico, and the entire facilities department have done an amazing job of, getting our buildings ready for the return of our teachers and our staff and our administrators. There's been a ton of work put into this. And air quality and air exchange was obviously something that was put out by air quality was not put out by the Department of Ed guidance, but the Department of Ed and DPH put out guidance that, to recommend using standards for air exchange, obviously due to the COVID pandemic. So we had all of our buildings tested for air exchange reports, except for the buildings that actually just have radiators, which is the Key Center, the Huntington, and which one am I missing? Just those. There's one more. Key Center, Huntington, and is there one more that doesn't have the? No, those are the only two.
Yeah, it's only two. Yeah.
No, North has univents.
Yeah.
They don't have. They have univents.
Yeah, the univents.
Yep.
Right.
The BB Russell, correct? No, they had it tested, the Russell.
The Keith building, we did test.
Yeah, exactly. So, so basically, it was the air exchange rates where they need to be. Then obviously they make recommendations, and I'll let Dr. Cobbs knows a lot more about it than I do. And then air quality was something that we did on our own to go above and beyond. Air quality is basically tells you about mold spores, the quality of the air. Air exchange rates are basically how much of the CFMs are coming into the building and how much the air is turning over. And then air quality is, again, it measures the quality of mold spores and other, items that are in the air that could be hazardous. So we actually did that. Beyond, that was not something that was either recommended to do by the DESC, but we did that anyway to make sure that, again, we went the extra step. So I'll stop talking and let Dr. Cobbs take over.
Good evening. Does anybody have any questions? There's copies that went around for the subcommittee members, but Jamie went to pick up some more. We just got them. Literally, they're putting them together right now in the central word processing office. So everybody will have a copy before you leave tonight. So there's a lot of this is a pretty thick kind of booklet, but because I included all the air samples, there's 2 air samples for both buildings. One is, as Mike mentioned already, is for the air quality, which tests what's actually in the air that you're breathing, and the other one is for the air movement, which tells you how fast the air is turning over in each area. So if you can see in section 3B, all the schools have been tested, as Mike mentioned. So just a little quick science on air quality. Air quality is tested based on what they call particulate matter, which is measured in microns. It's basically little microscopic particles that you really can't see with your eye. So essentially, the dust that you can see, dust floating around, those are larger microns. So what we're looking for in the buildings is particulate matter of 2.5 microns is what the coronavirus and viruses typically the size. So to get an idea what that looks like, it basically, if you took a human hair and you cut it in half across the diameter, and you cut it in half again, and you took 1/4 of a human hair, that's the size of a micron of a virus micron. Typically in our buildings, so we're looking for, again, particle 2.5 and above. So if you can see the last bullet here on section 3B, our buildings, and again, you have every copy of every building in your booklet there, where they measure between 0.001 microns and 0.007 microns, well below. Basically, it's like a softball and a ping pong ball. So essentially, there's no air quality issues in any of the buildings with concerning coronavirus. Any questions on that? So that's the air quality testing. So the next section is the air exchange rates in section 3C. If you look at, again, Mike said all the buildings have been tested for the air exchange rate, which is measured in air changes per hour, or basically how many CFMs. Essentially, it's like when you go into your bathroom to take a shower and you turn on the ventilation fan, you're increasing the air movement in your bathroom. You're turning over, those typically go 50 to 100 CFMs. So the typical air change rate we're looking for is about 800 CFMs, to move the air in any particular space. The recommendations by ASHRAE, which I won't go into the acronyms, but it's the science behind all the air quality and HVAC systems. It recommends a rate of 6 to 20 air changes per hour for classrooms, and a 3.3 to 4 air changes for office spaces. I put the asterisk next to the 6 to 20 because right now, with teaching remotely, these teachers are going to be in a classroom of roughly 800 square feet. So essentially, it's like an office space. So, even though most of the classrooms met the six changes per hour, it really, right now, three is, good enough. But that's why I put the asterisk there. Some of the areas are below the air exchange rate, and as we were going through doing the air measurements, we actually had our HVAC technicians adjusting dampers and adjusting the airflows to make up, to get up to at least 6, the threshold of 6 air exchanges per hour. Most of the work were in the range. Most of the ones that weren't were like in bathrooms where there was little to no air movement. So we're, we again cleaning out, and changing the damper system to make sure that they're open enough to get the air exchanges in the bathrooms. But all the open spaces, for the most part, were within the threshold, which meaning classrooms and office spaces, et cetera. One thing that you can do, and Mike sent out that 2-page of all the scientific data with all the formulas on it. Essentially, if you read the bottom line, it says to really help the airflow and air exchanges, you can augment it with the air purifiers. So, as I mentioned already, the air purifiers really aren't necessary to clean the air because it's taken, between 0.01 and 0.0 microns and nothing to clean. But they do help the air movement by adding at least 2, to 3 air exchanges per hour, and sometimes 4 air exchanges per hour in each area that they're placed, so depending on the size of the unit.
Dr. Cobbs?
Yes, ma'am.
Quick question. So how often is the air exchange, like how often are you getting the results? Is it like daily, weekly, monthly? Like how's it going to keep track of the results?
So
Air
the
quality.
test is just done once.
Just once?
So they come in, they test each, they do a sampling of rooms. So basically here at the high school, you have one air handler that may service 15 rooms. So you want to test that air handler and how it's moving air. So they come in, they test 4 or 5 or 6 of those rooms to see what the exchange rates are. Then for a place like East or West that have actually the univentilators, which is, if obviously you've been there, those are the heaters and the air circulators that are kind of in the cabinet against the windows. So they went in, and those aren't roofed. Those are not run by rooftop units. They're almost like the units you see in a hotel room. And so basically, they had to do samples of those rooms to see how those were working. So those are known to be low for to circulate air. So once they do the test once, for rooftop units, you can adjust the dampers, you can do some things to make adjustments to increase airflow. For the vents in like places like the Brookfield, the 4 old junior highs, they're in the Ashfield, they're in the Brookfield, Hancock. So what you do with those is you basically, you put them on high, and then you also have the windows, but we didn't want to, basically we didn't hesitate. So we ordered air purifiers. That's the really only thing that can bring up the CFMs in rooms that are low. So thanks to Dr. Cobbs and Aldo, and so right now we have 1,278 air purifiers in the district. As you can see, 2 of them are here. The bigger ones go into bigger classrooms. We even have larger ones that will go into gymnasiums and cafeterias. And then we have smaller ones that go inside of offices. So by Pretty much by the second week of October, we will have 2,123 air purifiers in the district, every office and every
If you go to
classroom.
section 3D, you can see the.
Well,
Mike's
yeah,
talking
so
about
there's a
already.
section of what we have. These have been really difficult to get. As you could see, there was an article about the Easton Public Schools that were ready to open, and then they delayed their opening because the air purifiers didn't come in. I think it might been because we probably bought every one of them.
Yeah, we
So,
pretty much did. We started early, just like
Yeah,
when
so
we
we
bought the
started early
laptop. We
and-
started ordering early. We tried to get ahead and make sure that we had a supply chain, but everybody else did once we started as well, but.
So the demand for these air purifiers has gone through the roof because every school system's looking for them. And then to compound it, California, the wildfires, now a lot of them in the east, the reason Easton didn't have theirs because their order went to California because the wildfires are so bad. But luckily, we've gone through and we've used several different vendors. This is all being put in for reimbursement. So it's about $1.5 million in air purifiers that we will have
You
purchased.
turn to the next page,
And that will
yeah,
go again
it's
to-
growing.
It keeps growing,
Yeah.
and we don't want to miss any spots. Again, there are places that, like the old Univents, and these are old buildings. And thankfully, I saw a report the other day that there are 3 people craftsmen that work in the district, and also 2 on the city side that help service our HVAC units and our heating systems. So pretty much 5 city employees, and then you have CAM HVAC is contracted who won the bid. So ever since, in the last 2 years, we have spent $600,000 with CAM on servicing our rooftop units, putting in new rooftop units, changing things. So thanks, the committee has always been, you've always been supportive and made sure that we take care of our buildings. And so money is spent on upkeep of these systems. And as you can see that, if you don't upkeep them, there's an issue. As you know, there are some newer buildings that that belong to us that now are not running anymore, that are only about 20 years old and the HVAC systems are gone. And this Brockton High is 50 years old, and again, it's an older system, but it's running, and we spend a lot of money to keep it up, so. But we didn't want to take any chances. We just said, you know what, the air purifiers is something that's important to keep our students and our staff safe, so we did not hesitate. And again, at the end of, pretty much by the second week of October, we'll have 2,173 of them in the district. That covers every single classroom, cafeteria, gymnasium, and all the offices.
So how is filters and stuff like that? Do they have filters that need to be changed? Are they easy maintenance?
Yeah,
Because
the
I mean, that's a
filters-
concern. Some of the parents, they're like, once we're back in the schools,
Yeah, they have a light that goes on to tell you
Yeah,
that the
they have
filters-
you can either change them, or some of them, the units like the one back here, the square one, you can actually take the filter out and clean it and put it back into the unit, so you don't have to actually replace
We'll
it.
have an inventory of filters and a system put in place that obviously it's almost like our water fountains. Those
Right.
filters go to filtered water stations. Those have to be swapped out, and the same will be the case for the air purifiers.
no, thank you.
We'll
Because
just put it on the
again,
routine maintenance schedule, like all the air filters and, the air handlers and everything else. Yeah,
no, thank you for thinking ahead, because a lot of schools were not able to get them. So once again, Mr. Petronio and Superintendent Thomas were thinking well ahead of the game, and we're in good shape. So thank you.
One question.
You're welcome. So again, you can see the.
Well, Mr. Sullivan has a question.
I'm sorry.
Dr. Cobb, I was just wondering if this expense is COVID-19 related?
Yes, absolutely. All of these are COVID-19 expenses directly, hopefully pass through the COVID-19 expenses, so,
So we'll get reimbursed for that?
yes.
Okay.
We
thank you.
should, according to what they told us, we should. We're writing the check, so hopefully they're going to deposit the money. So, yeah, absolutely. So the last page is section 3, 3D is actually what we've ordered in the cost of the air filters, purifiers to date. As Mike said, they're, $1.5 million easily, quickly, and that's where we are with those. If we need more, we'll order more when they become available, but it's basically every school system, everybody on the planet wants air purifiers. But we have enough to take care of all our buildings, offices, and as Mike said, all the school classrooms. The next section is the section 3E is the PPE, and again, all these sections have, you can see why it's a big booklet. There's an appendix for all the extra information that goes to. I don't want to go through every single one of them. That's why I just did bullet points. So masks, we've ordered, tons and tons of masks. We've already distributed all the masks to each school for all the staff members, teachers. When the students, whenever this body decides that the students will return, we'll issue the masks to the schools for the students, the cloth masks. We'll also have, on hand 500,000 paper masks that we've ordered in case the students come to school and don't have a cloth mask. We'll be able to give them on. For the nursing department, we went by the guidelines of DESE. We had to order 100 is 10 per day or 120 per week per staff member. And Dr. Cahill has 480 staff members, so that's what we need to get us through the school year, over 17,000 N95 masks. The N95 masks are only for the nursing staff, not for the teaching staff, because they're quite expensive and they have to be actually fitted properly, by a trained person for the nursing staff. So, gloves, we have, again, tons and tons of gloves on hand. We've issued them out to every department. The nurses have lots of them, and we also have a lot of stock on hand with those. As requested, we send them out to each building every day. Face shields, we send them out every day, but again, a few teachers have requested face shields, not a lot so far. Perhaps when the students return, particularly for special education students, they might need the face shields. And again, for the nursing staff, 12,280 gowns. We have 200 on hand, and we have more that we available to us from the BEMA. So we work closely with them. If we need supplies, they can back us up. Again, with the boots, then also plexiglass dividers. Already installed 200 plexiglass dividers in office spaces, the nurse's office. We actually have the plexiglass dividers that are on wheels that are rolling, so we can place them in the nurse's office anywhere. We bought 50 of those, so there's plenty of them on hand. Hand sanitizer stations, as you can see, they're being, if you look around behind Melinda there, they're installed everywhere around the building in common areas. Every classroom has the no-touch hand sanitizer that are battery operated. We have all the COVID signs for spacing and for hand washing and the face masks that are already installed on the doors outside of each building. So those are being installed with building administration as they decide where they want to put the spacing for the signs. We have all the appropriate PPE signs. Any questions?
No, it looks like you guys are pretty much covering everything, so we appreciate that.
It
looks like we'll be in good shape.
The facility staff, it's kind of the unsung heroes are behind all this. It's like when you turn on your computer and you're using the program, the software, you realize in the background all the time there's an operating system that's keeping everything running, and that's kind of the facilities department. We've been here the whole time. Everybody's been working all the way through the pandemic. Every one of them is showing up every day to do their job and get the schools ready and safe for students and staff to return. So,
No, thank you. We do appreciate that. Again, thank you to Ken Thompson and his crew and Dr. Cobbs. It's a lot of behind the scenes that a lot of families don't see, as well as with the superintendent and working closely with them. We're definitely ahead of the game compared to other schools.
We're ready.
So we're ready once we're able to make that
Absolutely.
in-person move, but we are definitely ready. We have the essentials that we need to get us there. So, no, we appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, we have the essentials, we have the staff, we have the plans in place, we have the training in place for all that, again, we haven't missed a beat as far as the operations, the facility side of the house. We're ready to take care of, whatever the needs are for when the students return. Hopefully sooner than later, but whenever that happens, we're ready. So Appendix E just goes to the PPE cleaning procedures. Again, there's an appendix that shows all the DESI and CDC guidelines for the cleaning as far as, any particular space, either classrooms or common areas or buses. So, what we've done to disinfect every building, again, once, starting on March 12th, we shut down the buildings and we were in the buildings all weekend cleaning and desanitizing everything and wiping down. So when we shut the buildings down, they were already clean and disinfected and ready to go. Then we had the buildings closed for a few weeks, and then the staff came back on a limited basis to start cleaning again and doing their regular things they need to do to reopen anyway, stripping and waxing floors. Just along with that, though, we're also taking the ventilators, the covers down and painting them and cleaning them and replacing ceiling tiles. So you had to add it, onto what they normally do with floors and everything else and all the other projects. But, we got it done. We electric hydrostatic sprayers. We have 3 per building right now, 10 here at Brockton High School. So again, at night, we spray down the buildings and disinfect and ready for the next day. So if you see, and again, in Appendix E, we have a set of reopening checklists that we put together for the custodial staff, and we met with them a few times over the summer in this room, actually, to train them on what the checklists are, what to do when you submit the checklist. Before you submit the checklist to me, if there's anything on the checklist that's not done, it needs to be repaired, and they actually put the work order in to get it repaired. Some of the things, like we had a lot of windows to be fixed or repaired, a lot of screens missing, so some of it we're contracting out, and some of it we're getting our own staff to complete those as we can. And along with that, we, deep cleaning, painting, floor stripping, waxing, replace carpets, all the stuff that we normally do every summer anyway to get ready to open, we continue to do throughout the pandemic and since March. Questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just wondering, and this relates to several other presentations and conversations I've had. So we hear, during the day they're cleaning constantly, and in the evenings they're deep cleaning. How does a deep cleaning in the evening differ from just the during the day types of cleaning that they're doing?
During the daytime, all the high-touch surfaces are wiped down continuously all day long. I think our checklist is every hour. We have a checklist that custodians have to walk through. It's kind of like when you go into McDonald's or you travel on the highway and there's a checklist that says when this bathroom was last cleaned or checked. So we have a similar checklist. It's in copy of it in your booklet. So that's done all day long. And then at night before they leave, they go through with the hydrostatic sprayer. They wipe down again, use the hydrostatic sprayers to spray all the surfaces, and it sets overnight to kill the viruses overnight. So that's a big difference, like the deep cleaning and the all-day routine cleaning. Right. So we really stepped up that cleaning all day long, every hour.
Great.
So
Thank you.
Custodians should be walking through the buildings with a cloth and a spray bottle all day long, basically. So.
And also, what happened is we did negotiate with the Teamsters, who represents the custodians. We did change shifts, which is not an easy feat, but they did agree without any hesitation to get most of our staff during the day. And then obviously we have, so as you know, most of our custodial staff works at night in normal times, because most of the cleaning is done at night when nobody's in the buildings. So what we did was we shifted staff to, obviously knowing we had to do the disinfecting during the days. Some schools only have 1 or 2 custodians during the day, which would have been next to impossible to get all the disinfectant, especially when kids are back in the building. So we did shift staff to get more custodians on during the day. And then at night, there's not as many, but again, you're doing most of your disinfecting and cleaning during every hour during the day. And then at night is, again, still the wipe down, but now we're spraying with the electrostatic guns. And so we've been able to maximize the amount of people in the building at the most important times. And then obviously Jim and Dr. Cobbs and Ken and Jamie, at their discretion, use overtime when it's needed. Obviously, if there's somebody out sick or we cover to make sure that all the areas are clean. We can't hold back on not doing that, so.
Other questions? So the last section, section 3G.
I apologize. Mr. Sullivan?
Just one comment, Dr. Cobb.
Yes.
I just wanted to say, I was reading through this, and it's almost like a checklist for a hospital. It's got everything covered. I think everybody there did a great job. I just wanted to thank everybody
Thank you.
involved in this.
Thank you
Because
very much. It's appreciated. You know, they worked hard all summer. I mean, if you walk through any of the buildings at any time since March to now, I mean, they're always there. They're always working. They're cleaning. They're taking care of their normal routine business, painting and all the other things. So, you know, they all showed up. They've never missed a beat. You know, when we asked them to come back, they came back. You know, so. You got to take your hats off to all of them. None of them were afraid to come back to the building to come to work. They were ready to make the building safe and ready for everybody to return.
It just seems
thank you
like
for
you
that.
and your team left no stones unturned. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So section 3G kind of speaks to that. And please, when you get a chance, you know, flip to the last tab to section to appendix F to kind of. It's a list of all the things that we've kind of a synopsis of what we've done pretty much since the shutdown and throughout. But I guess again I have to give my shout out to the facilities and operations staff. They're right on the ball and never missed a beat. You know, we were there giving out the laptops that needed to be handed out. They were helping us put them in the back of the cars. They were getting them cleaned and ready to go for the IT department. They've been running food since we shut down, and they haven't stopped. They've been doing it every single day for all the schools, and they're still doing it, to driving to drop the food off. Furniture, according to Ken, we received and delivered 13,000 pieces of furniture so far, and we still have trucks coming right now as we speak. You know, so you know, we're still in, and that's the new furniture. And then we had to take furniture out of the buildings, out of the classrooms, the tables that are too long for the students to sit at. So. You probably add on top of that another 10,000 pieces that had to be moved and put out and stored in warehouses. So we haven't stopped. We're running, you know, not round the clock trains, but pretty close. I mean, they're working on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, delivering furniture, delivering food. So
Yeah, and what we'll need to move to as we plan eventually for a hybrid model is that you'll see desks in the cafeterias 6 feet apart. We'll have to get those big tables out of the cafes because obviously we can't have, you know, 6 students sitting around a table. You'll end up seeing desks in cafeterias so students can eat and we can get students in, and obviously they'll have to be 6 feet apart because they have to remove their masks to eat. So that will be, you know, the next phase of what we do as we continue to move. So what we did was most of the furniture that were taken out of classrooms and replaced with desks, which were tables, were now put into the gymnasiums because obviously we're not using those right now. And then the travelers will go around, collect those, put that furniture in the warehouse the extra warehouse we leased over at where's that again?
Perkins Ave, it's right next to the Washburn Candy Factory on
Exactly.
Perkins
So
Ave.
that's the next step, getting all that furniture over to the warehouse and then setting up desks in the cafeteria, so to prepare for the return of, at some point, our students. So it's a big changeover. And obviously, we're not throwing furniture away. It's being stored and be used again at some point. And when we ever get back to normal, we will have a lot of extra furniture, so we won't be ordering tables or desks for
For quite a while.
10 years.
And again, thankfully,
On the
it's
bright side, we won't
COVID money.
have to
So.
order any tables or desks for the next 10 years, so.
Yeah, the principals that are on the ball, the sharp ones, you know, they managed to get rid of a lot of old and unserviceable furniture at this point and use the COVID money to replace furniture that needed to be,
Yes,
you know,
which is
removed
good.
from service. Yeah, so they've done a lot of that as well. As you know, we did the graduations, we did some graduations to set up the field for chairs and you know, and facilitated that and cleaned up afterwards. You know, reopening projects, again, we followed all the CDC guidelines, the DESE guidelines for, you know, reopening and, you know, again, at the same time, projects are going on. That, you know, in the last tab, you see the North Middle School renovation, you know, the spreadsheet that we used for all the rooms that were done. And they're done. I
actually-
mean, now we're doing the cafeteria and one large room that was kind of a, you know, we're kind of renovating, but they're done. They're ready to go.
Actually, we can plan a walkthrough over at, I haven't been
Yeah,
there.
that'd be great. It looks amazing. I mean, the
Ran a
classrooms are
walk through,
renovated.
North for what, so you can see the rooms that, that were renovated, over the summer, so we can plan maybe to go over there. You know, obviously, anytime after 3 o'clock, we can go over and take a look.
Absolutely.
And again, I'd like to go over and see, I haven't been.
It looks great.
to
You know,
see
if
the
you walk
rooms,
through there
but-
during the summer, it was blown up and there's stuff all over the place and you had to demolish a lot of ceilings and,
Yeah,
you
we
know, dumpster
demolished
loads of
ceilings
things.
and took a lot of stuff out. and-
Always are full of pallets of ceiling tiles and construction equipment, but, you know, they got it all done. You know, it's pretty amazing. It looks really good. All the classrooms, all new IT equipment, projectors, ceilings, new light fixtures, painted, floors in some cases. We moved some of the old science equipment, the big slate top desk and those things. So it really cleaned up well. So
We gotta go take a look.
now we're doing, again, if we're in the cafeteria, I'm going to completely remodel that and we get a big classroom upstairs. It used to be the home ec classroom, 221 upstairs. We're in the process of getting that done, so.
Maybe we'll do that before a meeting.
Yeah, let's do that before one of
Those that
our-
are interested, if they just want to let Melinda know, and maybe we can just coordinate it before one of our meetings. We can head over to North and then just come here. I think that would
Yeah.
work out best.
Because what we'll do throughout this year is obviously start to renovate the next block of rooms to get ready for the sixth graders moving up
next
to
year.
7 next year, and then another group of sixth graders coming in, so there'll be another 12 or so rooms we'll renovate through this year. And then obviously, the following year, it will be ready to open as the full school, but every room, every location will be renovated at that time.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
So,
Mr. DiAgostino?
Since we were just talking about the renovating of North with our own people, I wanted to mention the impressive work that our facilities people do and what they're capable of doing.
Absolutely.
And I always think back to, and actually, especially today, the mayor and the superintendent and I attended the unveiling of a beautiful painting of Principal Brian Rogan at the Kennedy. This particular topic reminds me of him because they had done some work in the Kennedy School facilities, renovating some bathrooms, and he made it a point to bring me down there. I was there for a PAC meeting. He said, "Hey, Mark, you got to come see this." Made it a point to bring me down there, show me the high quality work that they had doing. He was so impressed and so proud of what they were able to do, and it was when we were talking about North and having to do it in-house that he made it a point to bring me down there and show me, and say, just wanted you to see what they're capable of doing. They can do great work, and they're going to do a wonderful job.
They're
with,
pretty amazing. I mean,
North.
I've been in the trades for all of my life, you know, and I when I walk through and look at their work, it's second to none that I've seen in the construction field
Yeah.
over the years.
But,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And it does help being able to keep that in-house. It helps keep the cost down when it does come time for renovations and stuff, knowing that we have craftsmen on hand. So we do. We really appreciate everything the facilities department has done. Sometimes you try to remember everyone when you're thanking them. But I just personally know every time I need something, especially when I'm working with Cradles to Crayons, they were there. They were there to help me unpack, a truck full of backpacks and stuff that, actually I need to coordinate. And now we have winter jackets coming in. So they're always there. They're always available. They're always, willing to help, even though they're very busy working on other projects. So they're always accessible.
We just get it done.
Always accessible.
That's what
So we do
Just get it
appreciate
done.
our custodians and the facilities department for getting us through the past few months.
Another question. So to finish up my presentation, like you said, the last 2 bullets, the buildings are clean, safe, and ready for staff and students to occupy. Whenever we get to come back in either modified or phased in or fully in person, we're ready. And we'll continue the cleaning procedures and disinfecting procedures as we go along. The last bullet, it's a team effort, and I just want to shout out to all my staff and the facility staff. In the beginning, you have a list of all the staff and people in the facilities department. It's a team effort, and they did a great job, and they continue to do so. Like you said, Ms. Joyce, everything we ask them to do, they just get it done. So.
No, thank you
So
so
again,
much.
if you go to tab F and take a look at, the last section where all the projects and things that we got going in the very back of the book, you just get an idea of what going on and still going on, and what we did since, like I said, we never stopped. We never stopped working through the shutdown.
Thank you so much. Mayor Sullivan?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Dr. Cobbs, I just want to thank you. I mean, this is impressive, it's professional, it's thorough, and it took
Thank
you
you.
a lot of time to do that. And I do just want to echo the sentiments of everybody here. I mean, your leadership, your colleagues, facilities, I mean, Ken Thompson, Jamie Damasco, I can name them all. They truly have a shared vision, and none of us expected to be dealing with what we're dealing with. But I don't know if all of you know this, but I have a department head meeting every single Wednesday, every single week, and Dr. Cobbs never misses it, ever. And he always gives every department head on the city side the most updated information. It's very, very helpful. So, Jim, I just want to thank you for your leadership.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Minicello?
Thank you again for everything that you presented tonight. So in your overall assessment of the building, would you say that, in your opinion, they're healthy, they're more than adequate and acceptable to the town, to our staff, as well as to ensure the appropriate time according to our numbers and all that good stuff?
Absolutely. Without a doubt, again, the facility staff have been in the buildings the whole time. There's no infections, there's no COVID infections amongst any of the facility staff. We've been occupying the whole time, so they're absolutely ready. And again, based on the air quality results and the air movement results, there's no detriment to any human health in the buildings.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Dr. Cobbs. Oh, yeah, I think we're good. Thank you, Dr. Cobbs.
You're welcome. Thank you.
If I can
Thank
just
you
go,
all.
I apologize. Wait, thank you. So if I can just go back to item number 1 on the agenda, the polling location request. If I can just go back, so a motion was made by Mr. Sullivan to, per request of the Elections Commission, to add the Russell School and the Gilmore School as polling locations. So Mr. Sullivan made that motion, and it was seconded by Mr. DiAgostino. And are we all in favor? Okay. Thank you so much. I just wanted to clarify that. And do we have any other business? Okay, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Mr. DiAgostino, thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Dr. Cobbs.